going on, guys? Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. Welcome to the post show for NXT Takeover Vengeance Day. I am the host. As always, I'm Drew. And hey, what's going on, Maurice? And joining me, my special guest, hasn't been on the show in a while. Why am I blanking on the name? I feel like Kevin Castle here for a bit. He's part of the Hammerlock Hangover, and also you can find him on the Garden of Doom. Jeff Lippman, what's going on, man?
How are you, Drew? I thought you were trying to pronounce Malachi, and that was giving you the trouble. Yeah, I'm doing just fine. I'm happy to be here with you, even though you blanked on the name. But yeah, Kevin Castleism can be contagious.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was you that told me when I was on the Hammerlock Hangover that I think you said Shaheen was saying that he was just laughing at the fact that Kevin had a hard time saying, or he couldn't say the name of the show right. And I brought that up to Kevin. Kevin's like, "Yeah, that sounds like something I'd probably do."
Yeah, Shaheen was having a good laugh at that. Yeah, so listen, anything to make Shaheen happy, that's always a good thing. But yeah, listen, since that time, you've definitely made it up a bunch of times, especially when you and RJ were complimenting me on being a good hole last week. So that was swell.
we meant that with love.
Yeah, so only in the best way.
Only in the
like a donut.
Like a donut hole. There you go. But how's your Valentine's Day going, man?
My Valentine's Day is good. I have a terrific Valentine. She's got the patience of a saint. I recorded Garden of Doom today, and we put it up. She is experimenting with some video of her own. She's not happy with the results just yet, but we'll see. We'll get there. And, she let me watch Vengeance Day, but we're going to go out for a real dinner tomorrow night. I am off from work. I forgot entirely that it was President's Day, and my office is closed tomorrow. So I have an extra special day tomorrow, and, so plenty of time to do these part-time jobs, which are all, of course, labors of love.
I mean, that sounds like you had yourself quite a day.
I live the dream, Drew. Every day is beautiful.
You're the American dream, baby. That was my Dusty Rhodes impression, by the way.
I know.
It was ill-fated, but yeah, our Valentine's was pretty chill. I was able to get the day off today. My girl originally was gonna work, but here's what happened. So we just got a cold front here in San Antonio, and by cold front I mean actual cold front, to where today it's been in the 20s all day. It was in the 30s yet. It was in the 30s yesterday. Right now it's 21 degrees as we speak, and then tomorrow morning it's going to be in the teens. It's going to be deathly cold. It's supposed to snow. So she was originally going to be one of the closing head cashiers at her job, and then she got a text message saying that they were going to close at 4. So she called the supervisor, and she just said, "No, you can just have the day off. We're good. You don't need to come in because we're going to close at 4 anyway." So yeah, we had Valentine's Day off, but we didn't go anywhere because again, it's deathly freezing. So I mean, we're not gonna do delivery because I don't want some poor soul trying to come down here in the cold trying to give me my food, and we're also not gonna go out anywhere. So we just she actually made breakfast for dinner, which that's never a bad thing.
Never.
She made pancakes, bacon, and eggs. So
that's great.
Valentine's Day was pretty chill. As you saw, we exchanged gifts. I bought her the Roman Reigns head of the table shirt because she wanted that, and the shop zone, or the shop site, was having a buy one get one. So I bought myself the same shirt, and she bought me some more wrestling stuff. She bought me one of those little, I guess it was one of those random little dolls that you see at Five Below, WWE stuff. She got me a Roman Reigns one.
Aww.
And then she got me one that was a surprise box, and it ended up being Shinsuke Nakamura.
Oh wow!
And then she got me this really nice blanket that's I fall asleep anytime I put it on because it's that damn comfortable.
Already?
Oh yeah, it's a great blanket, dude. Like it even feels nice. But overall, yeah, Valentine's Day I can't complain. I had a great day today. I have tomorrow off because originally I was supposed to go to the dentist, and then my dentist actually sent me a message saying, "Yeah, we're canceling because of weather. So just call us, or we'll call you when we want to reschedule." So I have the next 4 days off, or technically, I have the next 3 days off after this.
That's still pretty good. That's like a little vacation. And I guess in Texas, when it gets to 20, crime stops.
You'd be surprised because there's still people that do dumb shit even when it's cold. I mean, there's still people that do dumb shit regardless of the weather. So
And it's true that you are a Texas Ranger, right?
yes, I am Drew Yari, Texas Ranger.
That's awesome. And you do know Kung Fu, karate, Muay Thai, and Krav Maga?
Sure,
Excellent. Good. That's what I thought.
I know all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what else can we talk about? I guess we can just get into this card already, and then just talk about anything else that comes up after that.
Whatever you like, man.
So awesome. So NXT Vengeance Day, which just happened like not even 5 minutes ago. Let's see. The first match on the card was the Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Finals. The winners also receive a future WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez versus Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez won. I mean, I thought it was good. I thought it was a good match. It was pretty obvious that who was going to win. When the whole tournament was even like brought up, you looked at the bracket and you just go, yeah, this is kind of a clear cut, who's going to win, or at least it's a clear cut who's going to be in the finals at least. Go ahead.
I thought so too. I mean, I picked Raquel and Dakota way back when, and anybody who checks out my podcast, Hammerlock Hangover, cheap plug, will know that I did in fact pick Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez to win the whole thing. So I think Raquel Gonzalez has been just amazing over the last 14 months. I've said it before, and I'll say it here again in case your audience hasn't heard that, or heard this, but in this short period of time, she came out like Diesel, Shawn Michaels' bodyguard. And by the end of the year, she was Kevin Nash, co-founder of the NWO. She's advanced that much in such a short period of time. So,
Right.
I'm excited for that. I think that it's great that they're going to get a WWE Women's Tag Team title chance. I fully hope that they win those titles. That way, they don't have to be moved up to the main roster, but they can still compete there. And main roster tag teams can come down on NXT, and that those belts can be defended because there really aren't enough women's tag teams on the main roster. But between the three brands, they can certainly build some and utilize what they've got. So, yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was a good match. I think the right team won. In hindsight, it probably wasn't a great match, but at the time I thought it was a good match, and I was perfectly happy with it. I thought this was a great show, by the way. I thought I mean, if you are a wrestling fan, I thought it delivered for everyone. But we can cover each match by match or whatever order you want to do, because this is the Drew Yari show, and you're Drew Yari. You're Drew Yari.
I have a feeling we're going to disagree with a few things about this whole show, just letting you know.
It's not the fun? Isn't that why we do things
okay,
together?
but the funny thing is, it's usually you that does the disagreeing, and I'm the one that's like, oh, like, how dare you, sir?
That's okay.
But,
Listen.
No, I get you. It makes for good conversation, because if we're just agreeing with everything, it's going to drive me nuts.
Well, as people know, I have that effect on people. So it's not just you, Drew. It's yeah. So we don't. Oh, you know what? I thought that RJ was going to be joining us.
No, RJ and Monty are doing their own thing tonight on their own show. So.
That's cool. I'm happy with that. But I had never worked with either of them. Actually, I don't think I ever met either of them. So I was looking forward to that, to making new cyber friends. But I'm perfectly happy for this to be a two-man show.
Well, yeah, because I thought he was going to join us too, but then he was like, "Oh, me and Monty were originally going to do something." It's like, well, I mean, if you guys already had something planned, you can just. I'm not going to stop you. Go ahead
Oh,
and
well,
do
it's a
whatever.
tag team. It's a tag team thing, and then we're a mixed match. We're like the Rock and Sock, and we've got to defeat them.
So you're saying I'm the Rock?
Sure, you can be the Rock. It's okay.
All right. Oh yeah, to close out this match again, I liked it. I like Raquel. I'm very high on Raquel. Um, the match went the way it should. Like each spot, just pretty much each spot was kind of the way it should have went. Where it gave you the impression of can Shotzi and Ember pull it out, but in the end, the right team won. I like Shotzi. Shotzi just continues to improve each match. Ember is just not my cup of tea. But
I,
that's just me.
we agree.
But yeah, the right team won. So
This
the match.
going down
Go
the
ahead.
tubes pretty quickly. We agree so far.
Oh, ugh, this show's gonna go. This show's gonna be interesting. But yeah, the match was 17 minutes 40 seconds. Next match, in my opinion, was the match of the night. Johnny Gargano, the North American champion, defending the championship against Kushida. I was actually looking for Kushida to win, because I honestly thought he would,
Me
but
too.
yeah, it was surprising because really looked like Kushida was going to pull it out and win it because they clearly like him up there. It looks like they like him and want him to be something, not world champion, but he's going to be something. But
I
just
thought,
yeah, very good back and forth because Kushida was just for the most part he was really dominating the match.
yeah, this match was great. I am not historically a Johnny Gargano fan, but
Mhm.
I have been loving his heel work. As soon as he started the way and all the comedy stuff, it's 95% hit for me. I found it to be funny. I even thought their little cheerleading or in a circle, hip hip hooray thing was funny. And then when they were walking and Dexter Loomis came out of the showers and not the showers, the shadows, and put a almost like chloroformed Austin Theory and dragged him away. I mean, I thought that was all perfectly done. And then Johnny said, "I got it," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely right now." But I was definitely all about Kushida on this, and I thought it was even more so. Well, here's what I thought. I thought because John Moxley was the IWGP U.S. champion as an American, I thought WWE might want to have their North American champion be a Japanese wrestler.
I mean, I didn't really think of it that way, but it's funny you say that because I forgot which announcer it was. I think it was that said, if Kushida wins, he'll be the first, Japanese wrestler to be the North American champion. I'm just like, okay, that was kind of a specifically weird thing to say, but whatever. But now that you bring that up, I'm like, huh, maybe that is what they mean. I don't know, but
Yeah, that was Vic.
um,
I think that was Vic who threw that one out.
yeah, and then CM fucking Goof, which welcome to the chat room, by the way. He says he thinks they're saving the North American title for Dexter Loomis. Um, maybe,
Yeah,
because Dexter Loomis is doing his whole thing with Austin Aries. So not Austin Aries, Austin Theory. I'm sorry.
yeah, well, yeah. No, that's an easy mistake.
I've been having the bad habit of saying Austin Aries instead of Austin Theory because I used to do that with Becky Lynch, where I would call her Becky Bayless.
Well, yeah. Well, Austin Aries is just. I mean, first of all, he was around forever, and then there's onomatopoeia, so it sort of flows. And Austin Theory doesn't exactly flow, but yeah, you're not the only person I've heard do that, and it's very understandable. But yeah, Austin Theory indeed, yeah, and I don't know if Dexter Loomis is going to hold the championship. It's sort of hard to have a champion that never speaks, so I'm not sure about that, but we'll wait and see. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if they wait for the Theory turn and give it to him, but I don't know. We didn't talk about, and again, it's your agenda. So, did you want to talk at all about the pre-show and the appearance that we caught in the beginning?
We can save that until after we're done with the show because I was going to talk about the Ty Valkyrie thing,
Copy
which
that.
which which kind of leaned towards
That's
the
fine.
the LA Knight thing. But as far as like Dexter Loomis goes, it's weird because he can actually talk. It's not like he's not a good promo cutter. Like when he was in Impact, like he was actually a good, like he can actually cut a promo. And um Kev brought this to my attention. He actually, well, used to do cameos when before WWE decided to kibosh that. Like he can actually cut a good promo, and I don't really understand why they're not letting this guy talk. It's weird. It's really weird.
Well, it works. It's working for him. I mean, well, it works for me. I mean, I'm like questioning myself on the air here because I say it works, and then NXT does 558,000 views on a Wednesday night. So
Yeah.
is it working? But I think it is. I think it works for his character. His eyes do a lot. But yeah, I remember him as Sam Shaw, and yeah, I agree with you. He can speak, and at some point, I'm sure that he will. I mean, this can only go so far for so long. So maybe your listener was right. I was a CM fucking goof. I'm giggling about that because I have a feeling I know where he got the latter part of that name. I don't know who the real folks are. I'm sure who some of them are for real, but we'll stick with their. Um, well, he just told me who he is. Yes, I know who you are now. I know you by 3 different names. So, hello, all 3 of you.
Yeah, I knew who he was. But let's go to the next match, which it's tough because I like this match too. I was trying to think of who had the better match, but the men's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Finals winners also receive a future NXT Tag Team Championship match. You got MSK versus the Grizzled Young Vets or Veterans. I mean, what'd you think about this match?
This was my match of the night. And I agree with you that Kushida Gargano was a terrific match. And it's not because I'm a sizist or anything like that. I mean, certainly MSK are not the biggest guys in the world. Neither are
Right.
the Grizzled Young Veterans. I am a sucker for tag team wrestling. Tag team wrestling has always been my favorite, with the exception of maybe like the superstars. So I just thought that this was action packed. There were a lot of close calls. That suicide dive into, I'll just call it a doomsday device, or you can just call it a clothesline outside the ring was, I don't know, that was like one of the most amazing moves I've seen in a long time. I think that these teams worked really well together, and I don't think they've worked together a lot. Could be wrong about that, of course. I think MSK is every bit the sort of the AEW style of team, except they're crisp. And when they do those outside dives, they hit the other team. It looks like they're causing pain, not just being caught. Um, and when they first came up to NXT, I remember them from Impact, but I sort of left Impact around the same time they were coming up. They were sort of doing their promos where they were like stoners, like sort of passing a bong around and then sort of joking around. I don't know that I ever saw them in action on Impact, but I know people like them, and I know that Trey Miguel is back with Impact again. Um, that said, they reminded me very much of style-wise the Motor City Machine Guns,
Right.
as okay. I don't know what MSK stands for. I'm sure it stands for something important to them. I just like to joke that it stands for marijuana smoke kills. But yeah, this to me was the match of the night. It was perfectly orchestrated. I actually picked the Grizzled Young Veterans to win the whole thing. I was actually on a podcast a couple days back that just dropped today, where I actually said that I think I'm wrong, but I'm going to stick with my pick because that's what I picked all along. And the reason for it is pretty obvious that, you have Lorcan and Birch and their heels, and, Grizzled Young Veterans are heels also. So it'd be heel versus heel, but also they're like the same team. So it's, very similar styles, and MSK would be a contrasting style as well as face versus heel. So it made a lot of sense. It's just, you know, NXT historically was like Lucha Underground, that the new people came in and they lost for a while. MSK came in and they won 3 matches, and I sort of thought, well, that's probably enough. That they obviously they love these guys; they're high in them. Grizzled young veterans can't be bridesmaids 2 years in a row, but of course they can and were. But yeah, I thought this was a terrific match.
I'm kind of on the same boat as you because I picked the Grizzlies Young Vets, and the way I was looking at it was kind of like the way you said it was. They were in the finals last year, so I'm like, okay, they're not just going to put them in the finals for the second year in a row and have them lose, and also because MSK is new. And again, I love MSK, but it's just I was thinking in that thought process of how the bookers would be. It's like, okay, these guys are new, so we're not just going to have them win off the bat. These guys are here last year, so let's give it to these guys. So I was like, okay, it looks like Grizzly Young Vets are going to win, and MSK won. I'm like, okay, well, I'm happy about that. I'm happy. I'm not unhappy about the result because I like MSK because I didn't watch Impact. I haven't watched Impact for a good while. I haven't watched it since it was TNA. Well, I mean, technically, I guess it kind of is still TNA, but it's Impact. I don't know. Well,
No,
whatever.
they're Impact there, but they do use the TNA Championship sort of as sort of like AEW pulled out the FTW Championship. It's sort of like a non-title title.
Basically, the last time I've watched an episode of Impact was when Hulk Hogan was there, and that was a long fucking time ago.
Yeah, no, I watched until EC3's farewell match.
Right, but yeah, I didn't watch him when they were the Rascals.
Yep.
So I know like next to nothing about their past. I just know I just know when they got signed, everyone was like, "Oh, they're signed. It's fuck yeah, the Rascals are in NXT." I was like, okay, well, let me see what they can do first. And so far, I've been impressed because again, they're they come off as a team that's genuine and not phony because there's a lot of flippy tag teams in wrestling, not just in NXT, AEW, Ring of Honor, everywhere else. But there's just something about these guys that are genuine. They don't come off as phony baloney. Like
They're
they
crisp.
have a cool. I'm sorry.
They're crisp. They're precise. Their moves hit. I mean,
Right.
Desmond Xavier is very good. He was very good before the Rascals. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was in Lucha Underground for a bit. I might be mistaken by that, but no, he was in TNA and Impact before the Rascals, and he was very good. He was highly touted. But yeah, as a team, like I said, they're very crisp. They're very professional. They're very smooth. They're very polished. It's like they've been in the Performance Center for 3 or 4 years, but they haven't. But they have been working together. So yeah, I'm not surprised, but I'm pleasantly surprised that they're doing so well there. And I also thought their match against Legato was terrific. And I said on Hammerlock Hangover that if that match was on AEW, the AEW fans would be eating it up because that's exactly the kind of style of match that they like, except it was crisper and more professional and more precise. And I'm not really, I know it sounds like I'm piling on AEW. I don't really mean to,
Right.
but a lot of their tag teams are green or are more of that lucha style, which is a little bit more free and flowing. And while a few of the teams are precise, not really, not that many of them are, and the ones that are sort of slower pace. So, and I'm sure that a lot of them will get better with seasoning. But this is I'm old. I'm 52. So
Right.
this is this generation's style of wrestling, or at least a style of wrestling that this generation is more into than my generation is, and that I am. But I can certainly recognize it, and I've learned to appreciate it, and sometimes enjoy it. But when it's a lot easier to enjoy when it looks like they're hitting each other with impact.
Yeah, you're right. And the vibe that I get from them is Paul London and Brian Kendrick. And if anyone knows me, I was a massive fan of, London and Kendrick back in the day. Like next to the Hardys, they're my favorite tag team. And
Wow.
this is the vibe I get from them because granted, granted, London and Kendrick didn't do too many dives, but I don't know. I just see MSK and I get those vibes from him. Like, it's like you said, they're kind of like that stoner, kind of Bill and Ted tag team, and it
Right.
works because these guys actually do. These guys actually do seem like maybe they are stoners in real life, and
I'm sure they
they're
are.
able to they're able to go in the ring and do all that shit, and like they don't do anything that's too reckless and that looks stupid. I don't know. I just enjoy the matches. I enjoy them every time I see them. Since I first saw them, which was pretty much last month. To now. So I'm happy they won. Um,
Yeah, Drew,
uh,
do you realize what's
Good.
happened so far? We're
What?
we're we're through 60% of the matches, the card, and we agree entirely. But I actually have a question for you because actually I thought that the point you just made was actually really good. I had not put together Kendrick and London with MSK, but once you said it, like a Beavis and Butthead light bulb went over my head. And yeah, definitely I can see it. But my question to you is, how is it that Paul London seems to have missed the boat on, there being this wrestling bidding war where we've got promotion after promotion pretty much hiring everybody, and it's not like he's been nowhere. He was in Lucha Underground, and he's around. I see him, sometimes on the ads for local indies, and I don't mean local to me. I just mean that on the wrestling various pages and Twitter and whatnot, you see indie shows, and he's there. He's around. So how is it he hasn't been hired in NXT or in AEW or even on Impact or Ring of Honor? Like, where is the guy?
I mean, if I had to like really chalk it up to anything, I think he's burned a lot of bridges. He said some things in the past about, I guess, certain people. He's not crazy about Triple H. As far as I know, I don't think him and Kendrick even talk anymore,
Hmm.
according to him. And I don't know, I just think he's a guy that's burned a lot of bridges, which is unfortunate because this is a guy that really could have had. I don't want to say maybe a revitalization of his career, but he really could have came back and contributed. Like he could have put on good matches, with a lot of the guys like in NXT or even in 205 Live.
Yeah,
Same thing with AEW. He could come into AEW and have good matches with a lot of the guys there. But may,
he
maybe
could
maybe it's
work.
all. Maybe, go ahead.
He could work for another 4 or 5 years. Maybe get a coaching or agent job or whatever. But he could work for another 4 or 5 years and put away some money. So I don't want to call it retirement money. I don't know what they would pay him or not. But he could stock away some money, and maybe be one of those guys who in 10 or 15 years didn't have to have a GoFundMe for a medical procedure. Because that's the worst part about this business. You see these guys who you thought were successful during their career, and they're not even that old, and they're doing GoFundmes. So it's clearly that they never made enough or not enough to save, or they just were done with their money. And we both know that's never going to happen to a Randy Orton or the Miz or
Right.
Dolph Ziggler. They're just it's not going to, and it's probably also never going to happen to Dustin Rhodes or hopefully at this point, I'm just picking names at random, but hopefully it won't happen to a Darby Allin or a MJF or a Brian Cage, because hopefully they're making enough now and around people who are getting them with financial planners and insurance folks, and then taking care of some of those things, even if they're just enrolled in uh, oh my god, I can't think of the word, HMOs. Even if they're just enrolled in an HMO for now for catastrophic stuff, um, and do a self-directed 401k or something. It's just a shame to see, like, hear about like a Conan, or back when he was alive, Bam Bam Bigelow needing the charity of fans basically to for things that are typically covered by health insurance.
Yeah. And also, I mean, this is kind of like off topic, but you see a guy like Ryback, and it's just like, dude, and also, Ryback's not dying as far as we know, but it's just like, dude, you're a guy that really could have benefited from playing nicey nice with the company. Like you could have easily had another appearance or a comeback with WWE or even AEW. But I just I don't get certain people's mindsets. I really don't. And like you said, it's unfortunate when you see a lot of these guys that aren't even 40 and they're already putting up GoFundmes. They're already putting up, I'm hurt or I have a bad hip and I can't pay for it. And it's just it really is unfortunate.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah, Ryback. I don't want to say too much about him. I have a feeling, Drew, that he doesn't think like you or me. I don't think he thinks like you or me, or even most of the people that we know. I think his mind works differently.
And also with Paul London, I mean, as far as I know, Paul London's healthy, but maybe it's another thing of he just doesn't really want to do anything. Maybe he's just happy with where he's at. But again, that's like we both agreed on, which is insane. That's a guy that really could have benefited from coming back to NXT or 205 Live or AEW. So
Agree again.
it would have been nice to see him. And also, wasn't he in Lucha Underground with Cross?
He was. Yeah, he was part of the Rabbit tribe, the Rabbit Clan, whatever they called themselves back then. Yeah, he was there with Cross. I mean, so it's not just Kendrick and he has a tie to. He's a tie to Cross as well. I mean, I'm sure he's got ties to people in any company we can think of. So maybe you're right. Maybe he's just burned his bridges with everyone. And for all I know, maybe he's down in Mexico working every weekend for CMLL. I truly have no idea. But I figured since you were a fan, maybe you knew. But you know what I'm starting to think? And I don't want to jinx anything, but maybe us disagreeing so much was a 2020 thing, just part of that 2020 year. Maybe we're actually
Go ahead.
maybe we're actually best friends.
We might just be. But wait till the main event. This match was 18 minutes and 26 seconds. Let's get to the triple threat NXT Women's Championship. Io Shirai, the champion, defeating Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez. This match was 12 minutes and 13 seconds. I was very underwhelmed with this match because I was looking forward to it because I like all three women in this match. I mean, I already knew Io Shirai was going to win. I mean, there was no doubt about it. But I don't know. Just this match just seemed like it started and then it ended. Yeah. Go ahead.
I did not know Io Shirai was going to win. I could actually have foreseen scenarios where any of these three women won. I sort of thought that Toni Storm might win the belt because Io might be poised to be main roster bound. I knew that Mercedes was eating the pin, but I enjoyed the match. But I understand what you're saying when you say it was underwhelming because Mercedes worked her ass off in this match, but she's sort of the only one who did. Like she worked her ass off. She was basically beating up Toni Storm most of the match. Toni Storm did a part, but was sluggish or slow to be involved, and you could see why because Mercedes was sort of ring generaling the thing, and they were just sort of positioning for each planned spot for Io each time, spot to spot to spot. I mean, there'd be like 2 minutes where Io would disappear, and then you'd see her climbing off something and jumping on the air, through the air or something. And that's what she's known for. That's what she's the genius of the sky. But but she can also wrestle, and I thought that this was just everything was planned just for her to do spots. And I don't know if it's because these three women haven't worked together very much or they didn't have enough time to practice. But it just seemed like Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm were wrestling a more traditional match with Mercedes doing all the work, which of course made not all the work, but 70% of the work. And once I saw that, I knew that that they were just setting up for Io to pick it up at some point. Having said that, I mean it was entertaining enough, and if I don't think if I wasn't such a wrestling snooty fan, through listening to podcasts and sort of learning how to dissect matches and things like that, I probably would have enjoyed it more. But if you saw what I saw, it became sort of obvious what the conclusion was going to be, and underwhelming is right because, like I said, it all seemed very manufactured.
Yeah, because a lot of the match was basically on the floor, like because there wasn't a lot of like false finishes. Because usually in in a match like this, especially when you have three women like this who are really good, you expect a lot of false finishes. You expect a lot of Io goes for the moonsault, 1, 2, and then Tony interferes and breaks up like you expect a lot of that shit, but there really wasn't a lot. It was just again, like you just said, you hit the nail on the head. This match was basically designed for Io to do spots, and Mercedes was the one carrying the whole match, which is weird because Tony's really good. Io's obviously very good. Mercedes is very good, but Mercedes was really the only one that was kind of picking up the slack, and I don't get why. I don't I don't know. I don't know. It's because the like the agents didn't have faith in this match, or which they shouldn't. I mean, let me rephrase that.
They should have
I don't.
not. They
They
should have.
shouldn't. They should have had more faith in this match, and they should have given it more time. That's the thing. Like they could have easily taken time from the main event and given it to this match.
I agree
Maybe
with you.
like maybe like 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about the main event. But yeah,
Io
this match
could
was
have had more. Yeah, I agree. I think Io should have had more of a presence on the ground in the match, and it almost, like I said, it felt like a bit of a spot fest. Like I said, artificial, not organic, and sort of the art of professional wrestling, whether you want to call it professional wrestling, sports entertainment, stunt dancing, violent dancing, whatever you want to call it. The best is when it looks natural, when it looks like it's flowing, and when it looks like it's impactful. And we had it looked like it was impactful. The moves were good, but it didn't feel natural because it wasn't flowing. And so it was lacking at least one of those elements in large part for me. And one of those elements was, I wouldn't call it completely missing, but was on the weaker end. That said, it was entertaining enough. I mean, I think it sort of delivered, but it sort of missed the mark for me. And strangely enough, I would probably call this the worst match of the night, except that it was never dull. I never felt bored by it. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say, but I thought Mercedes, if we want to have a plus in this match, I think Mercedes worked her ass off and looked great and did everything well. And I would not be upset at all if, she got like a token run just as appreciation. I don't think it's going to happen because I think this is sort of her role, sort of to be a player coach.
Yeah, you're right. And also, what happened to that table in the match? Like, okay. So if anyone didn't watch the match, or if anyone forgot, there was a spot where I believe, I think Tony was supposed to throw Mercedes through the table, but the table broke on its own even before she can do anything. Like, all right, explain that to me. Explain that to me, Jeff. Like, walk me through it. What happened? What happened exactly with that spot?
Well, I don't know. I felt the same as you. I mean, I heard what Wade Barrett, I was going to say Stu Bennett, what Wade Barrett said. He said, it felt like the table was damaged before by, I think he said, by the grizzled young veterans. So maybe that is what happened. Maybe it took too much damage or abuse earlier in the night and fell prematurely. I guess they have nobody that's available to sort of test that, or maybe it's their breakaway tables to begin with. The announcers didn't feel anything, and maybe they were leaning too much on the table. I'm not sure. There I did it again. Wade Barrett
Right.
is a big guy, and Beth Phoenix is the Glamazon. She's very strong.
Yeah, it's weird because like I don't know if it felt like I noticed this. It looked like Tony Storm was just standing there and just going, "What the fuck?" Like she just had
Yeah,
this look on it. It looked like she was standing there and just looking at the table, like, did it really just break on its own? And then Mercedes just clocked her right in the face. But
it's
I don't
funny
know.
you bring that up because I felt like Tony Storm a lot of time was tipping her hand with her head. Like, for instance, when Io was climbing up that, I don't even know what you want to call it, but when she's climbing up that tower to do the big spot on them, the camera angle, I mean, I'm going to call it an unfortunate camera angle, but it was exactly the camera angle it should have been. It had Io up there, on top of the tower. She climbed it and she was going to dive down. So it was the shot you wanted. But unfortunately, it caught Tony Storm looking up 5 seconds before and not looking down until, 4 seconds. We saw her looking straight up at it. And then the camera angle changes because I guess the director saw that. And then we see her walk, to Mercedes and do that, what JR called, enemy and enemy, and they come together like coils, which was reported as quails. But that's what happened. It was a Ring of Honor AEW spot where they saw what was the positioning and they came together to keep her safe, which is what they're supposed to do, the latter part, but the former part, no. And so I think Tony Storm was the weak link here.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. But just before we get to the main event, I'm kind of getting tired of these spots where everybody just stands around cluelessly waiting for somebody to jump down. It's just like, okay, if you're gonna do that spot, can you just do it to where people are gradually standing up, and then as soon as they can do anything, that's when the person jumps off? Because it's just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a smark here, but it's just like, in real life, if I'm standing around and waiting for someone to jump on me, I'm moving as soon as they jump.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pretend that I'm groggy or paralyzed or something. But
well, in
I'm
real
sick
life,
of that spot.
if you swing somebody into the ropes, they're probably not going to go along with it, and they're certainly not going to rebound back. So, the real life thing sort of falls apart real quick. But I know what you're saying. I don't think that these spots, though, are going to go anywhere anytime soon. And I don't know. I think it's the state of the state, and that's just the way it's going to be. And I wish I could tell you that there's better times ahead for that, but that's sort of what people want and expect, or at least that's what they think they want and expect. And the alternative is probably the next match, which was a very different kind of match, and it was excellent in its own way. But if you're not a wrestling purist, if you're not a Timothy Thatch Ken kind of guy, the next match might have been perceived as dull.
All right, so this is where maybe we might agree, maybe we'll disagree. So, main event, NXT Championship match. You have Finn Balor, the champion, versus Pete Dunne, the challenger. This match went 25 minutes and 24 seconds, so the longest match of the night. Where do I begin? I'm just going to... the best way I'm going to describe this match is I am not a Pete Dunne fan at all. And by I'm not a Pete Dunne fan is I'd rather watch paint dry. I'd rather watch the Fantastic Four reboot from 2015.
Whoa.
I'd rather watch Dark Phoenix.
I didn't think Dark Phoenix was terrible. I'm with you on I'd rather watch Dark Phoenix.
I'm not a Pete Dunne fan at all. I mean, I even said on the Wednesday show with RJ, it's just like I'm not really looking forward to this match. I don't think I've ever been not interested in a main event, regardless of who was wrestling. But it's just, and it's funny, is because I even said about Johnny Gargano. I'm not even a Johnny Gargano fan. I'm not the biggest fan. I am digging what he's doing in his heel run. But I can still even say he's a good wrestler. To me, he had the best match of the night. But Pete Dunne, just to me, there's really nothing that's appealing about Pete Dunne. Because to me, he just looks like an angry teenage girl.
I'm of a mixed mind on Pete Dunne. I agree with a lot of what you said. He comes out with that look of menace that I like, and that a lot of wrestlers really don't have. So he has that look of intensity, but you're right. There is something about his facial structure and the way that his hair is and just his entire look that doesn't really intimidate. I mean, there was a point, I think, where Finn was applying the STF and Pete Dunne was supposed to be in a lot of pain and he was slowly going for the fingers. And it looked like he was laughing instead of grimacing or in pain. He is a smaller guy. I am a sizist. Everybody knows that. I try to ignore that, and it's easier to ignore it in the universe that is NXT than in a promotion where there's, giant guys and very big guys and big guys and little guys. It's harder for me to do that in the main roster and on AEW than say it was in Lucha Underground, where it was mostly smaller folks, and then there was sort of like a couple monsters. And same applies for NXT. So that's really just about me. But I thought that the first 15 to 18 minutes of this match were actually pretty dull. But I do know that there's an audience that likes this kind of stuff. It was Matt Technician. It was telling a story. It's just, that's not what I love. I don't love 25 minutes of wrestling to be that kind of wrestling. I'd rather have a 14-minute match and 9 minutes of promos or sort of craziness or distractions or just sort of anything else. But I thought that the last 5-7 minutes of the match I thought were really good. I think the story became clear. I thought they told it well in the ring. I thought there were some tense moments. I mean, I think we all knew that Finn was going to win, but there were times where they had me believing, well, I picked a bunch of these other matches wrong, so maybe this one too. I don't know why they'd want Pete Dunne to be their champion, but hey, maybe they do. But anyway, so the end was good. I liked how Finn sort of took control and he did sort of 3 versions of his finishers. That drop kick to Pete Dunne's face with both feet right in the kisser, I thought that was perfectly executed. So, and then, I didn't know that Lorcan and Birch were going to come out and beat him up, but that was fine. And then, it led to what happened with the Undisputed Era, which I'm sure you're going to want to get into. And that was good too. I mean, that was fine. So all of it was very interesting at the end. But I think we probably agree that most of the match was, I'm not going to say it was too long, but it was too long of that style of match for me. But I bet there's probably podcasters, and there's probably people listening right now. There's might even be people in your chat who thought that this was the perfect match.
It's a Valentine's Day miracle, Jeff, because we've agreed on everything on this show. The main event. What?
2021 is our year, baby.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Yeah. The match was just very, meh. That's the way I'll put it. I mean, yeah, the last maybe 4 minutes were interesting, but like I said, you could have easily shaved like 5 or 6 minutes from this match and given it to the Triple Threat Women's, in my opinion. It just, that's really all I'm gonna say about it. Because also, the match was kind of pointless when you look at it. Because is there really anyone that thought for a second Pete Dunne was going to win? And yeah, I get it. All roads are leading to, Finn and Cross, it's been like that ever since, Finn won the title and Cross came back. But it's just, I believe more that Kyle O'Reilly had a chance at winning than, Finn Balor. Or than Pete Dunne.
Pete Dunne? Nah, I never thought Kyle O'Reilly had a chance, but I know what you mean. I didn't really think Pete Dunne had a chance either. Now, the thing with Adam Cole is interesting, but, I don't know if he's going to have a title match before Cross or if he's going to be involved in a program with Kyle O'Reilly that's going to keep that going, or if we're going to have tag matches. And, obviously Bobby Fish is still not healthy enough to wrestle, and who knows, when that'll happen. But I guess the question might be, whose side is Roddy on? But yeah, Cross, well, he's doing this thing with Escobar. Hopefully one match will be it. I don't really understand the point of it, but that's I guess a talk for another day. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, we mostly agree. Well, we pretty much entirely agreed on the card, but I thought it was an enjoyable show. It's just, I didn't need 12 or 15 minutes of Mac Technician stuff. 4 or 5 minutes would have done, and then they could have picked up the pace some, or at least Finn could have. But this is a Valentine's miracle.
Going back to the Undisputed Era thing, so when they came out, I was just like, okay, where's this going? And then as soon as Kyle and I guess as soon as they were doing their symbols, whatever you want to call them, their hand gestures. As soon as I saw Adam just basically kind of giving Finn the stink eye, I'm just like, okay, something's gonna happen. And then he super kicks Finn, and then he super kicks Kyle, and then Roddy's just right there. So I'm just like, all right, so Sweet Air is kind of finished, which I was kind of more on the idea that Adam Cole goes to the main roster, which I know you're not a big fan of, but that that's what could have happened, and then Kyle becomes the new leader, where Adam Cole would just be like, okay, take care of this while I'm gone. I know you're gonna do fine. I got bigger opportunities, blah blah. But I mean, they want to dismantle it, which I guess in another sense makes sense because WWE's with their factions, they can't last forever, which New Day is still kind of a thing. But again, I don't know where this is leading to because I don't know if maybe they're going to add Adam Cole to the title mix, or it's just going to be Adam Cole and Kyle, which I'd be fine for that. But it was definitely a shocker. So I'm interested to see where it goes. And as far as what you were saying about the Cross and the Escobar thing, it's simple. The way Cross sees it is he's basically the devil, and if you speak the devil's name, the devil will appear.
Yeah, no, I know what happened. I mean, and that's fine. It's a wrestling story, and obviously it's to put that on the side so they aren't rushing Cross into the title picture, which maybe they feel like they did, or maybe they've got other things they want to do. But I think NXT is sort of built a little bit around the Undisputed Era the last 3 or 4 years, and this lets it be built around those guys, at least as a B or C story, if not the A story, for the next year. And so we can have Cole and Finn. We can have Cole and O'Reilly. There can be something with Roddy. Who knows? Maybe even Bobby Fish will come back. We can have more members of the Undisputed Era. Does Adam Cole join? Well, they're not the brand anymore, but I guess they were calling themselves the Triad or something, the trio, whatever it is, Lorcan, Birch, and Dunn. So there's plenty of stories they can do for the next several months, if not a year. And I think that's good. I mean, that's what wrestling is. You need to have stories, and you need to sort of mix around the dancing partners. And once you don't mix around the dancing partners, you mix around their roles and what their goals are. So, that's fine. We don't need to have the discussion about Cole going to the main roster today because we've had it before, and we're doing so well agreeing that, and it's Valentine's Day, so it's not the day for disputes.
You're right. So overall, how would you grade Takeover?
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'd give this show a solid 9.
Okay. I'd give it maybe like an 8.5. Eight and a half.
I mean, this show isn't made for me. It's made for, guys like you and maybe even a generation younger than you. So I think for those types of fans, it might have been even higher. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some people didn't call this, 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10. But, I think it delivered, for what it was, the audience it was intended for. Though they do best in my demo, the plus 50. I think it delivered. I didn't love everything about the last match, but you can't be a wrestling fan for 40 plus years and not know that you're going to get technical matches from time to time and not be able to appreciate them at all. It's just, I was a little bit bored during that, but listen, we all have a bit of ADHD, and I could go on Facebook and Twitter and look at things, and so I wasn't suffering. But yeah, I'm going to stick with that. I think a nice solid 9. But if you want me to come down to an 8.5, just so we agree across the board, I can easily find my way to an 8.5.
No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with what you gave it. I mean, just yeah. To me, I don't think there's ever really been a bad takeover. I mean, at best, I think maybe there was like an okay takeover, maybe an average takeover, but takeovers are usually good. They deliver. Um,
I agree. I mean, I
but
haven't seen all of the takeovers. I didn't see a bunch of the early ones, um, but I think maybe the last takeover was the only one that I thought was underwhelming. I think every other takeover delivered on you know pretty much 7.5 or above shows.
yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. So, but I guess we can move on. I guess to the news portion of the day. So it was announced earlier that WWE signed. Actually, WWE I think signed 4 people. The other two I'm not too sure, but you can fill me in afterwards. But they signed Taya Valkyrie, former Impact Knockouts champion, and they also announced that they had signed Eli Drake. And during the pre-show, he came out during a bit with Wade Barrett. Who is it? Peter Roberts. Was that name? Is that his name? Peter Roberts.
No, Sam Roberts. You
Sam.
conflated Sam Roberts and Peter Rosenberg because they switched duties. They
Okay,
switched
I'm sorry.
alternate shows. And
Okay,
who was the dude from Barstool Sports? What I mean, how did he get there?
I literally had no clue who the fuck that guy was. I just assumed maybe he was a former wrestler, but that guy was just bland as fuck. But
Yeah, added nothing.
anyways, Eli Drake comes out and does a bit, talks, and announces that his new name is L.A. Knight.
Yeah, I'm not loving the name, but I don't know. I guess they want to be able to keep the cadence of the Eli Drake, so L.A. Knight, and he is from L.A., but that's fine. I enjoyed the interplay between him and Wade Barrett because Wade Barrett, as Stu Bennett, was in NWA as one of the announcers, and Eli Drake was there. I am just so happy that Eli Drake is not saddled in one of those NWA contracts any longer, or he got released, or whatever the case is, they bought it out, and that he's made a decision, where he's going to be on a multi-year deal, get paid decent money. He's probably going to be fast tracked to the main roster, and or they can, he can be one of the foci of NXT for the next 2.5 years easily. I know people say that he sounds too much like The Rock, or he sounds too much like Ric Flair, or he sounds too much like Steve Austin. And I agree that he's sort of like a diet version of all three of them. But it's not bad to be a diet version of those guys. And
Right.
I really like him. I've always liked him. And it seems like he's made a good decision. I think he adds a little spice and a little, sort of quasi star power to NXT. And that's what they need. They need somebody with a new attitude. They need someone to sort of be in that cocky heel place. Although it just seems like it seems like Adam Cole just repositioned himself there. But there's never too much, too many cocky top heels. And if Pat McAfee really is not coming back anytime soon, if at all, Eli Drake sort of fits that lane as well, and he can wrestle. So I like the signing. Don't love the name. Taya Valkyrie, as people might know, she is John Morrison's wife, former powerlifter. She's done a lot of work in Mexico and in Canada. She was in Lucha Underground. She, like you said, she was the Impact Knockouts champion. She also was revealed recently to be the person who shot Johnny Bravo at the wedding. I think that this has to lead at some point to John Morrison and Taya Valkyrie against The Miz and Maurice if she comes back when they finally split up. And I don't really love intergender mixed matches usually, but I don't know. I could get behind that one.
Going back to Drake. Yeah, I guess they wanted to capitalize, I guess, on the whole Eli Drake, but I mean, if any, why couldn't they just call him like Eli Knight? I mean, that at least would have made sense, but whatever. Um,
Why didn't they
him,
call him Eli Drake? It's not like anybody else owned the name.
yeah, but maybe he didn't want them owning the name. So I don't know. But him I like. I'll admit I haven't seen all of his shit, but from the shit I have seen from him in Impact or him in NWA, I like it. But a lot of people say he tries to sound too much like The Rock and Stone Cold. He kind of does, but he also kind of tries to sound too much like Ken Kennedy in some aspects. Like he does that thing that Ken Kennedy and Dane Cook do, where they have that voice of like, oh yeah, yeah. Well, look at Drake. I'm out here. Like they do that whole thing where they're talking like they're doing a bit. I'm like, why are you talking like that? But I don't know. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But again, I like him. He has a good look. I mean, he's good on the mic. I'm pretty sure he'll do fine in NXT. You put him on the main roster, I'm pretty sure he'll do fine. Personally, he'll probably end up like Bobby Roode, which is not exactly a bad thing because I'm pretty sure if you talk to Bobby Roode would tell you that he's happy in WWE because he's
100%.
getting paid. He's getting paid. He's on TV. He's in a maybe people won't agree with this. He's in a prominent tag team with Dolph.
He's making multi six figures, before any sort of royalties. That hasn't happened to him before, or if it ever did, he was getting like 110 or something, something like that. And aside, the only reason I want any of the Joey Ryan suits to go forward at all, at least against Anthem, is so that in Discovery we get all this information about the wrestling business from his indie promotion to what they charge for autographs and indie dates to what the Impact contracts read like, and it's just going to be a treasure trove of information. But that aside, the other two wrestlers, one is rumored, so it's not 100% clear. One is Blake Christian, who's described sort of as an indie darling. I don't know much about Blake Christian except that Blake Christian appeared last night on Impact's No Surrender pay-per-view. So I don't know if Blake Christian was a regular in Impact or just on a per appearance basis, or if that was just a one-time thing. No idea. The other name is another Christian, I think Christian either Caballero or Christian Casanova.
Let me look
And
it up.
yeah, somebody said that they might be a deathmatch wrestler. So that would be, if it's true that they signed this person, if that's the right person. I don't know that WWE's had any deathmatch wrestlers since the ECW days with Sabu and sort of the the days of Mick Foley and earlier than that Terry Funk.
Okay, let me just look it up. I put in new WWE signings. Are you kidding me? I actually just saw it because I think you shared it.
I did.
Referee Drank Younger was a deathmatch guy. I don't know. Yeah, I can't really find who the other. If anyone can find out who the other guy was, let us know. But
yeah, and a referee is different than a wrestler. But fair point. And listen, if somebody was a deathmatch wrestler, and they can bring an attitude without having to bring the light tubes, I don't see any reason why they can't scale that back. I mean, it's sort of the same game. It's got to be easier to do with legs and fists in your head than with weapons and barbed wire.
So is it fair to say that NWA is officially dead?
It's not fair to say it's officially dead, but I mean, that it's got a lot of nails in the coffin. So, if a coffin requires 30 nails to close, and I have no idea whether it does, I mean, that has to be at least 26 or 27.
Right. I mean, because you look at the roster so far. I mean, is Thunder Rosa officially with AEW or is she still with NWA?
She's still with NWA, but as far as I know, she's the only woman with NWA still, except for Camille. Aldis is still there. I think Tom Latimer, Bram, is still there. That's Camille's boyfriend or husband, or both. Right. The other folks from Strictly Business are gone. Aaron Stevens is still there, but he's also the head booker for Championship Wrestling of Hollywood. So he's got another gig out there. The other guy, Kratos Jr., works for other promotions as well, including UWN, which is like sort of their West Coast partner. Trevor Murdoch holds a title there, but he lives in the Southeast, so I'm not sure how often he's planning to travel there. No idea about Tim Storm, but I know he's got a full-time job year round as a like a teacher or assistant principal or something. So he's got a normal job. I think that's it. I don't know that. I mean, I didn't even see the question mark Josephus, whatever we want to call him. I didn't even see him in any of the Shockwave shows. When they referenced him, it was a swerve because it was that guy Kratos Jr. that I just mentioned. Caleb Conley is an Impact. Allison Kay, free agent. She left. Royce Isaacs from Strictly Business got his release. Zicky Dice got his release. Ricky Starks and wrote out his contract and is with AEW. Eddie Kingston walked out on his contract and got signed by AEW. So who's left? Eli Drake is gone. James Storm is doing per appearance with Impact. So who's left? The Dawsons or the Swansons, whatever their names were, they're Southeast wrestlers. We know Tasha Steeles, Marty Bell, she's with Impact. Allison Vox is in other places. Danny Jordan is on Dark with AEW. So
Serena
Deeb.
Serena Deeb is still the champ.
Yeah, but she's actually contracted with AEW. They're just using the title. I think that's literally the only thing keeping NWA on any sort of national prominence. I did see that Aldis is doing the traveling champion a little bit, but he's doing shows in a suburb of Memphis, or he's going to indie shows. He's back what he was doing before Power. So I don't know. If it's not dead, it's on its doorknob. I tweeted our mutual acquaintance friend Anthony Missionary Thomas of Wrestling Soup, and Mish loves NWA, and like he's like a super fan. And I every time an NWA star signs someplace else, Mish earns his wings.
But it's just unfortunate because COVID played a big part in really. Let me rephrase that. The wrestling business really did suffer from COVID. I mean, WWE is doing fine. WWE is always going to make money in spite of themselves, so they're going to be around for a while. Other companies like NWA, for example, NWA was getting some steam behind it. It probably wasn't going to be anything huge, but it was getting some steam definitely. But it really COVID really killed its momentum. Same thing with. Well, I was going to say Impact. Impact was already kind of dead. But NWA really lost its momentum since COVID happened, and it's unfortunate because Billy Corgan is someone you want to root for because he's someone that legitimately loves wrestling, and he's been putting his money in wrestling for the longest time, and it just seems like something always happens. What is it? He had that indie promotion, Revolution Pro Wrestling. Can't fucking talk. Revolution Pro Wrestling. Pro Wrestling. Jesus fucking Christ. And that didn't work. The whole thing with him and TNA with Dixie Carter, where she didn't want to give him full control.
Travesty.
That's a travesty because I think if she would have given the reins to Billy, Impact could have really done something. Not like beyond WWE level, but it could have done something. Like, I mean, if any, it could have maybe been AEW before AEW.
No, COVID absolutely acted like a brick wall for NWA's momentum. But the other thing that acted like if they were stuck at the brick wall, somebody dropped a safe on their head, while they're stuck at the brick wall, and that was Marty Scurll, because he was the head booker for Ring of Honor, and he was doing a lot of interpromotional stuff with NWA, but also with New Japan. He had reinvigorated the Ring of Honor New Japan relationship, which while it hadn't been officially dead, it was sort of dormant. Juice Robinson sort of put a kibosh on it, or somebody did. But they were planning joint shows during WrestleMania week in Florida last year with NWA stars, but it was going to be Villain Enterprises against Strictly Business. Marty Scurll was going to face Nick Aldis for the championship. The Bouncers were on NWA television quite a bit, and there was some, they were doing cross promos and appearing on each other's television. So that was like a 1-2 punch, and they just couldn't succeed, and then or sustain that. And then they packed up from Georgia, went across the country to LA during COVID, which I mean probably was a pretty bad idea for a bunch of reasons. Firstly, nothing's cheaper in California, but secondly, the business climate in California during COVID was very protective. So their business actually halted quite a bit, where it probably wouldn't have in Georgia, for better or for worse health wise. I guess they figured because they could partner with UWN and Championship Wrestling was so close, and there were a lot of sort of indie wrestlers that maybe have more of a national profile, that would be a good thing for them. But it didn't work out for whatever reason, and they were doing those weekly pay-per-views, which I mean I don't know a single person that bought them besides Mish. I'm not even sure he did actually. Now that I think about it, and then when they restarted TV, they called it Shockwave, I guess, because that was a shared joint with UWN, and they didn't want to share power. Power the show, not power the status.
Right. I know what you meant.
Well, I just want to clarify for the audience. But that only lasted 4 episodes, and most of them were under an hour long, and they were simply reruns of matches from the pay-per-views from like a month and a half or 2 months earlier, and everybody knew that. So, I don't, if that's not dying, I don't know what is. Somebody should buy the brand. Somebody should buy the brand and whatever contracts they have left. Somebody should buy the brand and Billy Corgan, give him a booking job as a writer, because he is good enough. He does creative wrestling stories, and he's as good as anybody else out there at it. And he loves it. And he's got a passion for it, and he's a bit of a money mark, but he's not like the Khans. He doesn't have billions. He has millions, and I don't know. It's the whole thing's a shame. You put it correctly. Somebody should give him a lifeline. I don't even care who it is at this point, but somebody should make him a fair deal and carry their titles and let him still be part of creative and make back some of his money on, I don't know, residuals on merch or something. But just let him enjoy himself, because he loves wrestling. Let him enjoy some security and success, just with the fun of wrestling. I mean, like you and me, we don't make any money podcasting. We lose money podcasting. We spend money, but we enjoy doing it. I think that Billy Corgan certainly has enough money to live a few lifetimes fine on his own, but he wants to be involved in wrestling, so let him be. And for better or for worse, that probably can't be someone as mercurial as Vince McMahon.
You're right. I mean, I'm actually surprised that AEW hasn't even thought about buying it.
Me too.
Which
Maybe
when you look at it, everybody, pretty much a big chunk of their roster is in AEW.
Maybe they have. Maybe he just stubbornly doesn't want to sell. Maybe his 20-year plan accounted for some setbacks. I don't know. I don't know the man. But I know that he's good at booking wrestling. I know that he's been snake bit along the way, but at some point you sort of have to believe that that you're just unlucky in a certain area. He's been extremely lucky in other areas, and like I said, somebody should throw him a lifeline, get him back some of his money, and let him stay involved, because he has a talent for it and he has a passion for it. And obviously there's some people who are very loyal to him, even though the business model isn't so great. I haven't heard anyone really say terrible things about him. Sicky Dice was sort of bitter, but that was a one-time thing. And okay, sort of bitter is one thing, but that's not like Ryback CM Punk bitter.
I mean, yeah. I mean, with out of 4 for four out of five people, there's going to be at least one person that's going to have a bad experience. So, but
and I understand if somebody finds a way to make more money than when they sign the contract, but signing that contract and getting that platform is what made them more valuable. So I was an employer at some point in my life, so and of course I've been labor and I'm labor again. So I see both sides of things. That's sort of my curse, but I understand. But you're exactly right. No matter what the work situation is, there's always company people, and there's always people who are always sour grapes, and then there's sort of people who are it's just a job they do. They show up, they do their thing, and if they don't like it, they leave. Or if they don't have anything better, they stay, and that's okay too. So it's just like anything else, except it's on TV.
so have you watched WandaVision yet?
I haven't. I don't even have Disney yet, but
Jesus
I'm gonna
Christ.
I'm gonna break down and do it because I do want to watch WandaVision, and I have to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, and I suppose I should watch Mandalorian. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch WandaVision. I'm definitely gonna watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What I will promise you is that if you tell me that you want me on a show with you to discuss those things, give me enough time, I will invest in Disney and do it. I've been putting it off. Um, I don't know why. There are things that I'm strangely cheap with, and things that I'm, completely not cheap with. And the things I'm not cheap with cost a whole lot more than the things that I'm cheap about.
Well,
Um,
I mean, it's pretty cheap because it's like it's was it like $9 a month?
I know.
And
I have a thing about having all these services and like everyone having my personal data and email and getting another set of like emails every single day telling me to buy merch and to see this or watch this again. It's just like, just don't want that. But I know I need Disney. Yeah, I know it's inevitable. I was sort of waiting for them to drop Black Widow on Disney as a like sort of how they did Wonder Woman 84. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but
I
yeah,
think so. I think eventually, they're gonna have to put it on the network or like the network, Disney Plus, because it's just the way I see it. These movies need to be seen already because you're gonna run the risk of people losing interest. I mean, yeah, it's Marvel, and I want to see this movie, but it's gonna become a thing of like I just mentioned, you're gonna lose interest with a lot of people, and they need to stop being stubborn. I mean, they need to stop being stubborn and just put this movie out already because the talk is that they have about 3 weeks to decide what they're going to do with the movie because they might end up having to delay it again, or because the COVID numbers have been spiking, or they might just do what they did with not Black Widow, but Wonder Woman, and just release it simultaneously, in the movie theaters on Disney Plus. And the one thing that just I think is kind of baffling is that Disney Plus, Disney in general is like the WWE in a sense where they're going to make money regardless. They're going to make money not just through their films, not just through their TV, their media, but just if anything, their merch. Marvel, Star Wars. So I don't
Lego,
get
toys, video games, you name it.
right. This movie should have been released on Disney Plus a long time ago, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just said, "Fuck it, let's just put it on the Plus already. Let's put it on Disney Plus. Let's charge $20 because people are going to want to pay to see it. It's Marvel." Which, again, I'll pay $20 to watch it because I've been waiting to see this for a fucking year already, and
Yeah, I'll pay the
I
same
want
as tickets. It saves you money I would pay regular ticket price to see it at home because you still save money because you're not going to be buying a $13 thing of popcorn and goobers and $4.75 soda. I mean, plus you're no gas. You're not going to go out for dinner beforehand, like which is almost always more than even if you order in, it's almost always more to go out. So you still save money doing it. But I agree with you 100% on this too. And there's another X factor, and I'm sure that they're considering this as well. But what movie theaters are going to survive this? I mean, Regal and AMC are already on the precipice of bankruptcy. I think Regal got some financing, or is in Chapter 11 and is protected. I know AMC got one of those GameStop bumps, but like GameStop, I'm sure they'll have a waterfall if they haven't already started experiencing it. So, can movie theaters survive that? I mean, their rent is extraordinary. Will people feel comfortable enough to go back to the movies on a nationwide level? Because most theaters didn't make money on the movie tickets. They made money on the concessions. It's like when you go to a restaurant that has a liquor license, they make pretty much 90% of their money on liquor. And the movie theaters make pretty close to 100% of their money on concessions. The studios don't care. I mean, it's great for ego and things like that, but theaters rent their movies, so I guess there's renewals. If the movie's doing great, they're going to get renewals, and so studios will get more. But either way, they're going to get their first 3, 4, 5 weeks. They're going to get their money on the front end. So the whole issue with movie theaters being an industry anymore, or if 50% of the theaters are not operational when all is said and done, or if it takes another year for them to get operational again. I don't really know what the holding costs are on a movie. I don't know when they have to pay certain things or et cetera. But I know that Marvel has other movies in the pipeline, and I don't know if, they'll lose interest. Some people will age out. Some people, I mean, like the Super Bowl lost ratings. Just there's like sort of like a damper on everything. It's like, it's hard to care about anything else, when you're sort of always home and there's sort of like this cloud of above everything. So yeah, I'm with you. I hope, and for a selfish reason, I hope they do release it, because that would be that thing that says, Jeff, just frickin' give them your MasterCard or your Visa already and get it the freak over with. I mean, and the biggest thing I'll struggle with is canceling Netflix, because there's nothing on Netflix anymore. I mean,
Yeah, Netflix is, it's I'm in kind of that precarious position of I'm paying for every app, and I don't think I can delete anything because it just, like, if it were up to me, I would just like cut the cord on a lot of shit, but especially Hulu, because I don't really watch anything on Hulu. But there's I have people in the house that watch Hulu for at least one thing. I'm like, we have TTV, you can just watch it on there. And it's like, yeah, but it's like, no, I want to get rid of Hulu already. And I'm at the point where I want to get rid of Netflix too, because there really isn't anything I want to watch on Netflix at all. I mean, because they'll release like their random documentaries, and most of those aren't really that great. But I don't know. As far as like apps go, Disney Plus is probably the only one I'm watching, very, very much. I mean, because we have YouTube TV, so we use that for cable. The WWE app for obvious reasons, which that's pretty soon it's going to become Peacock.
yeah, I have
Uh,
Peacock. I get Peacock with Xfinity. I just have to make sure that it's the same price. Once I do that, it's dollar for dollar. It'll be an easy decision. Actually, that's part of what I'm waiting for also, to see what happens with that. What I would love to happen, and it'll never happen because companies are too greedy for that, but if they could all get together and say, we will share everything for people, like take Amazon, take Netflix, take Disney, take the other 4 or 5 streaming services, and they all say, okay, we'll split it up, we'll charge people $50 for just one service, and they get us all, and we'll split it up, and however they can figure it out. That's my dream. It'll never happen. But actually, I think that would be really smart, because I think they would all make more money because everybody would get that.
You're right. And also, they already mentioned that if you already have a subscription to the network, that you'll be integrated, automatically into the Peacock. So
Yeah,
you'll
no, yeah, and I do, and that's great if I don't have to do a thing about it. And I guess that bill will stop happening, and that'll make it easy. But no, I really shouldn't wait. I hear great things about WandaVision. What I'm sort of waiting for is the last 2 episodes to drop, and that way, when I get the network, I can just watch it all in one day.
Yeah, that's kind of like a good and bad thing is that they're coming out weekly because I guess we're so used to, streaming shit like Netflix where we can just watch everything all at once. For this, it takes you back to the old school ways of, or I mean, it's not even really old school because, there's still TV shows that do it, but of shows that come out weekly because it makes for good conversation because now you can spend all night speculating. It's like, oh shit, so what's going to happen next episode? Or, oh shit, this episode was crazy. So what does that mean for the next episode? And it disciplines you in a way because the boys, were the show. The boys they ran into that same trope of people hating on the show where it's like, why don't you release everything in one? Like, why do we have to wait weekly? It's like because that's how we do shit. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what they were doing with that show because again, that's what they're doing in WandaVision, where with the boys, where it's like, oh shit, Homelander did this. What does that mean for the next episode? Or what does that mean for next season? So I'm fine with it being weekly. I mean, selfishly, I prefer they just release all episodes at once. But I mean, yeah, it makes for good conversation. But you definitely need to get Disney Plus already. It's
I will.
you really should. Yeah. I
If
mean,
I if I can confide in you and the audience, because we're all close friends. Here's the other problem. Once I do something like that, the dam breaks open, and then I'll get Amazon Prime, and then I'll get this and that and the other thing. Because first of all, I must get Amazon Prime. You'd think it's for the boys, and I do want to definitely watch that. But The Expanse was the greatest science fiction TV show of all time, and I loved the first three seasons, and then it got canceled by Sci-Fi, but picked up by Amazon, and so I think their season 4 and 5 are completed, and I think 6 is going to come out pretty soon, and it's killing me that I'm not watching it, but it's just like once I do Disney for $10, then I'm going to do Amazon for $10. Um, and then where do I stop? And then it's going to be Jeff at the mall. The answer is I don't stop. I keep on eating cars. So uh, I haven't bought anything really well, it's not even true because I bought a new laptop, I bought a camera, I bought an HD uh, uh, microphone camera for podcasting and YouTubing. So this is actually a pretty expensive hobby. I don't know if people realize that. You pay for whatever your upload service is. I guess you've got Craig there, but I have Spreaker Plus.
same.
Yes,
Wait, how much are you paying for Spreaker?
I think it's $20.99. I think it's $20.90, not
Oh,
21.
oh yeah. I'm on the same plan with Spreaker, just doing $20 a month, which is really all I need. I mean, all I really need is 3 hours, and then you got Craig here, which Craig helps. It helps when you have two things recording at the same time because you never know what's going to happen. So,
Yeah,
but
well, of Doom, I rarely go that long at all. It's usually 75 minutes to a half hour ish. Though I've had a couple shows where I went close to 2 hours. I think one with Kevin went 2 hours and 5 minutes. That was the longest one. But I do I now know how to record off of Zoom, so I can record them both. What I haven't figured out to do with Zoom yet is how I can upload that recording to Spreaker, which I'll figure out this week because I have problems with Audition. With we listen to the sound, and when I say Lee, I mean my producer La Sicaria. We listen to the sound, and then she has me listen to it, and we hear it, and it's perfectly fine. And then it gets uploaded, and then it's like there's a huge differential between me and the guest that wasn't there. And sometimes it makes sense when you're on the phone, like we are, on Discord now. But when you're on Zoom, you both sound pretty much exactly the same. So, I don't know what's going on in the translation there, but I have a feeling if I did it from the Zoom file, which I think I know how to do, I just didn't try it today because, again, we tested the sound, we listened to it, and it sounded great. But then when I listened to it on the download, I had to put the volume up, and so I sounded really loud. But my guest, sounded average, so I had to put it so to hear him. Hopefully on the PWC Rational Rage Network, their version will be clearer. So if anyone tried it and said, "Geez, I can't deal with the differential in sound," it'll be on Podbeam pretty soon on the Rational Rage network, and hopefully, I'm sure the audio will be perfect there because Jimmy is a former DJ or current DJ, and that's his
Right.
specialty. So enough about that, though. But yeah, but I will get it, and we can chat more about Marvel and other stuff. I'm not really a DC guy, though.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I'm just like I'm pretty much Team Marvel. Um, as far as DC goes, I think well not I think, but Batman's really the only one I kind of really care about because I just got that new DC Infinite thing where it's it used to be the DC Universe app, but then all the shows and media and movies went to HBO Max, so now it's just primarily a comic book service where
Yeah,
you can just read comic books on your phone, your tablet. Because I have Marvel Unlimited, where it's the same thing. We can read any and all Marvel comic books, excluding like the adult stuff like Alias, Jessica Jones, and Punisher Max series. But overall, I think the Marvel Unlimited's a little bit better. DC Infinite's kind of it's weird because it doesn't have a lot of shit there. Like it'll have the old school stuff, but it don't really have like if you're a fan of the new stuff, it doesn't have the new stuff. But
it wouldn't take much to get me to be a DC guy for the movies, anyway. I mean, I'm not going to watch any of their TV series. I mean, I thought the first season of Gotham was pretty good, and that's it. Everything else, I can't stand. I know people love The Flash, some people love Swamp Thing. I tried them all. No. Um, I didn't even think Man of Steel was terrible. I thought half of it was terrible, but I thought half of it was pretty good. I liked the first Wonder Woman. I didn't think it was great, but for DC, it was their Citizen Kane. Just every other movie since Man of Steel, aside from the first Wonder Woman, has been bad to painful. And it's like I mean, everybody's looking forward to the Zack Snyder director's cut. Who wants that movie longer? I don't get it. But but if it's on HBO Max and I can watch it from home, I'll watch it. I'll watch them all. I'll watch. I didn't hate Suicide Squad. I'll watch the next Suicide Squad. I'll watch the John Cena show. So I'll give anything a try. But if it was in the theaters, I'm not paying for it. I'll wait for it to come to cable or maybe even pay per view. I'll pay $5.99. Just not paying $25 plus a night out to see another DC movie that's horrible.
um, uh, I mean, I'll give it a shot because it looks interesting. But my only thing before we call it a night is just is it gonna lead to anything or is it just fan service? Is it just being released just to please people?
It's
Because if
got
it's
to be
gonna
that.
be, I'm sorry.
It's got to be that because they have other movies planned, and they're not planned around the 4 hour movie. They're planned around what's come after the 4 hour movie. I mean, they already had a second Wonder Woman. I think they already have. I think Aquaman came out after Justice League, um, and I think they have some movies in the you know sort of in the pod already. I think Aquaman 2 is pretty much already done, so it can't possibly be based on stuff that's important in the new director's cut.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it would be unfortunate because partly because they're adding so much shit in this movie because if you saw in I don't know if you saw the trailer. They brought back Jared Leto's Joker and he's the
No,
last
not
he's the last.
interested.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's gonna thing then cool. If it's just gonna be we brought it back for fan service.
Yeah,
Okay, then whatever. But yeah, it's just again at the end of the day, I'm a Marvel guy. I'm always gonna be. I'm at this point where I'm pretty much a Marvel guy through and through, and
I'm in.
Batman's the
And we
only character I give a shit about from DC.
and we've got Fantastic Four coming in. We've got the X-Men folded back in. I mean, what a time for that to happen, except for the fact that there's no movie theaters. But aside from that, I mean, that stuff is exciting, and I am hoping that if there's some positive, and then we're definitely going to wrap this up, per your instructions, boss. Um, if Sony is hurting at all, maybe they give in to Marvel a little bit with the Spider-Man stuff and extend it past one movie. Because come on, I mean, they need each other, or they should just sell the property back to Marvel for a pretty penny and just.
Well, Well, the rumor is that if the next two Sony movies, which are what is it, Morbius and then Venom 2, supposedly if those movies don't do well, then they'll be forced to sell back to Marvel.
I have
That's
heard that too, and I did not think Venom 1 was good, so I'm a little bit surprised that there's a second Venom. Mobius, I like the character, but it looks like a movie that's going to be pretty boring for an hour and 20 minutes and then picks up for the last 35 minutes and, hit or miss. I mean, I like vampires, but I don't know. If that's the case, I would just say even if they're supposed to be great movies, sit at home, wait it out. They'll be on demand, within 4 months either way, so let them do poorly because in Marvel I trust, in Sony I do not.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, because they really should just sell back to Marvel. I mean, because what can you do at this point to make people interested? Because Venom financially was good. Venom overall was not very good. Morbius looks like it's going to be very cut and dry. I mean, they're doing a Craven the Hunter movie, which it could be interesting, but meh.
Yeah,
But
I don't
yeah,
be
Spider
interested.
Man belongs. Spider Man belongs in Marvel.
And Tom
Spider Man.
Holland so good in it, so
Yeah,
good.
he's so good in that role because, in my opinion, I think he's maybe the best incarnation of the character because
I think so. I think
he's
I think he's perfect.
he's kind of the best of both worlds because he's like a combination of of Toby and Garfield, where people who didn't think Toby was a very good Spider-Man, they thought he was a good Peter Parker, and people who didn't think Andrew Garfield was a good Peter Parker, they thought he was a good Spider-Man at least. With Tom Holland, he fits the mold of like he looks like somebody that actually goes to high school, and he's not. They didn't cast someone who was too good looking, but he's like a good looking guy, but he's not to the point where he's distracting enough. Like
Yes,
he actually looks like a kid, and
he
he
looks like
has
the boy next door.
yeah he has that vulnerability of like it's like in wrestling. He fits the baby face mold to a T, where it's like you want to root for him, and when he's in pain, you're in pain. When he's happy, you're happy. When he's pissed
Drew,
off, you're pissed off.
do you know
And
what happened, Drew?
what?
We've agreed again many times.
Jesus Christ, we gotta disagree on something. Like, goddamn,
Uh, who's more handsome, uh, me or Kevin Castle? I vote for me.
that's tough. That's tough.
But we have to disagree, so you have to vote for Kevin.
Okay,
We're
I'm
not.
gonna go. I'm gonna say Kevin Castle.
God damn it, Drew! You're the worst.
There you go. We disagree on something. There you go, folks. Anyways, go ahead and plug yourself, man.
All right. Thank you first, Drew. My wrestling podcast, Hammerlock Hangover. You can find it wherever fine podcasts are. Also, Garden of Doom is a non-wrestling podcast. I really can't even describe it to you. I actually have a little contest if somebody can give a description that I like. But this is what I told my parents. Aliens are real. The world stinks and God is fake. And my mother said she doesn't like that. And my father said, I can buy 2 out of 3 of those things, but he didn't tell me which 2. I'm also on the Unpopular Review YouTube / Facebook, Twitch network. I'm on the Wednesday night NXT AEW review show and some other things as well. And I'm proud to say that both of the podcasts, both the one that I'm with Steve Pena, partnered on Hammerlock Hangover, and Garden of Doom, we are both been picked up by the Rational Rage Network, which has a whole lot of podcasts there too. So check our shit out. Check their stuff out. Hopefully you'll like it. And I've got Facebook pages for both where we do interact. And on Twitter, I'm Icarus Fell MD, and I stink at Twitter. So I'm sure you can have fun at my expense about that.
All right, yeah, look forward to that. I try to never miss a show of Hammerlock, so good stuff. You guys are missing out. You guys can pretty much find it pretty much anywhere that podcasts are distributed. You can find it as well as like YouTube, Spotify, Google Music, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Jeff, I appreciate you for coming on. Can't wait to have you back on whenever you're available, man. You got to come back on.
Great, and the same for you. And we we just have to schedule a date for you to figure out some topics and for Garden of Doom, and then we're going to do that too. So yeah, good things coming.
Absolutely, man. Jeff, take care, man. Hope you have a good rest of your Valentine's Day, and be safe.
You as well. Thanks again.
All right, take care, brother.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, CM fucking Goo for Michael Corvin, Maurice Bear, White Cal. Thank you guys for showing up on this lovely Valentine's Day. Craig actually worked for the whole show, so that's good. Craig's been a good boy lately, so good for you, Craig. I'll have this show up by tomorrow morning. But anyways, guys, take care. Thank you for joining me on your thank you for joining me for Valentine's Day. So love all you guys. Take care.